What's going on, guys? Welcome to the We Want Picks post-weigh-in show for UFC 301. I'm Minty Bets, and as you may have noticed, I'm not in my normal setup, and if you're wondering if I'm in Rio de Janeiro, Brazil, I'm actually in Pasadena, California. Today I'm giving you guys a recap of the official weigh-ins, and I'm gonna do things a little differently because apparently you guys like my voice. So beginning today, I'm going to touch upon every fighter on the card, and I will do so with every card from here on out. I've got the Rangers sweatshirt on also because they've made me a lot of money in the past 4 years, and they're moving on to the next round after beating the Caps, so let's go Rangers. We have a lot to get through with 14 fighters on the card. Everyone hit their mark today, but there was one fighter of concern, which we will get to later. Let's start off with the main event, which is the flyweight title bout between current champion Alessandro Pantoja and the number 10 ranked flyweight Steve Erceg. Erceg was the first to be weighed at 125 pounds. Now this will be Steve's 4th UFC fight ever, first main event spot, first title shot, and it'll be quite the performance for sure. Interested to see how that plays out. On the other side, Pantoja actually needed to strip down, but ended up coming in at 125 as well. Didn't think these guys would miss weight, but I was getting a little nervous for Pantoja, like, you know, when that happened. So both look great though, and I did give out Steve Erceg as my pick for the main event, so good luck to me and whoever bet on Steve as well. Moving on to the co-main event, and it is a good one. Jose Aldo is back in the octagon for the first time since 2022, taking on Jonathan Martinez in this bantamweight co-main event. I do have action on this particular fight, and if you guys want any of my 301 picks, head over to UFC Fight Pass and search for On the Line. That is UFC's betting show with Yanni the Greek, Nick Kalikas, and myself, hosted by Brendan Fitzgerald.
And Steve Erceg. Cashing at 80% as a betting favorite, Pantoja successfully defended the belt.
This morning, Jonathan Martinez weighed 136 pounds, and Brazil's beloved Jose Aldo came in at 136 as well, but he did need the towel before confirming his official weight. And can I just say that Aldo is one of the softest spoken fighters I have ever heard. He seems like such a sweetheart, but looked great for his coming back into the octagon after all this time. On to the light heavyweights. I love this one. Vitor Petrino stepped onto the scale at 206 and looked fantastic. And my guy Anthony Smith, not looking too excited on the scale at 205.5. A little story about Anthony Smith though. When I was relatively new to the UFC, Anthony was one of the very few people who actually walked up to me, shook my hand, and introduced himself to me, which was very kind because not a lot of people did that when I first started. So now, every time Anthony and I work fight nights at the Apex, he always comes up to me and asks for my picks. And we just go back and forth on fighters and who we like to do what. And he's just one of the sweetest people I've ever met. So really rooting for him here. But my bet is not on Anthony Smith. On to the middleweight bout between Michel Pereira and Ihor Potieria. On Fight Pass, my goodness, on Fight Pass this week, we actually have a fun bet going on between myself, Nick, and Yanni, and whoever wins gets an extra $100 added to their bankroll for the next episode of On the Line. And the bet is, how long will Michel Pereira's walkout be? In his last fight, it was exactly 2 minutes and 55 seconds. I said over, I love overs, I said over at 3 minutes and 16 seconds, only because he's fighting in his home country, and this is gonna take, he's gonna take his time getting to the mat, and he's gonna savor every moment here. The clock starts when the music begins, the clock stops the moment any body part of his touches the canvas, not the stairs, the floor of the octagon. So leave your guess on how long his walkout will be in the comments, and if you're right, you will get absolutely nothing. In terms of weight, Michel Pereira has 7 straight victories entering this fight. This will be his 3rd time at middleweight, and he comes in at 186 pounds. Ihor Potieria, my goodness, I don't know why that's such a hard name to say for me. He's rocking his new mullet. This will be Ihor's 2nd time down at 185, and he weighed exactly 185 pounds. To open up the main card, we've got Caio Borjas, who has won his last 5 fights, weighing 186 pounds, and Paul Craig officially at 185. I'm loving the blonde look with Paul Craig, by the way, and he looks real lean. Loving the accent, too.
Stuffed week, This
fight is good to go. There are a lot of big favorites on this card, so do not forget to head over to WeWantPicks.com. Jacob's got picks, Angelo's got picks, and you guys can get it all as a premium member, so go sign up. On to the prelims. We're starting off with Joe Anderson, Brito, and Jack Shore. Brito came in at 146 pounds, while Jack Shore weighed 145.5. In the women's strawweight bout, we've got Yasmin Lucindo with a weight of 116 pounds, and her opponent was actually the last one to step on the scale. And when I say last, I mean like the last few minutes of the official weigh-ins. Usually not a great sign, but Karolina Kowalkiewicz actually looked great, in great spirits, and coming off of 4 straight wins, she weighed 116 pounds as well. Next, Miktabik Oralbai at 155.5, and Elvis Brenner weighed 156. Totally not related at all, but whenever I see the numbers 155.5, 5 in Thai actually is the word ha. So whenever I see 555, it's ha ha ha, and that's Thai slang, like Thai texting slang. Instead of saying LOL, we say 555, which means ha ha ha. So there's a fun little useless piece of information there. Moving on to the featherweights. We saw Gian Silva looking absolutely chiseled at 146 pounds, and William Gomez, my friends, looked like he was in pain. He was literally struggling to step onto the scale. He looked defeated, dehydrated, and also had his clothes on. He came in a few pounds underweight at 143. He had DC freaking out here, and yeah, it looked bad. He looked bad. At the time of this recording, this fight hasn't been canceled, but I wouldn't be surprised if it does get called off, so stand by. Let's look at the lightweights here. We've got Joaquim Silva at 155.5, ha ha ha. And Drew Carr Close came in at 156. Next, Mauricio Hufi making his UFC debut. He looked mighty nice at 156, while we saw Jamie Malarkey at 155 pounds. 2 fighters making their UFC debut as well are in the women's flyweight bout. Dione Barbosa and Ernesta Kareckaite. Sorry, girl, I could not find a way to pronounce her name. Dione stepped on at 126 and Ernesta stepped on at 125.5. One of my favorite fights on this card has to be between Ismael Bonfim and Vinc Pichel. Bonfim and Pichel both weighed 156. Pichel coming in as the most senior fighter on this card at 41 years old. And if you guys didn't know, there are rumors of a friendly charity match between Angelo and Vinc Pichel in the future. Yes, our Angelo. And it all started on the Twitterverse, and if it does come to fruition, I can see this as the beginning of a beautiful friendship. Last but certainly not least, I've saved I've saved Jacob's Lock of the Week for the end, since it is the first fight on the card. Sorry guys, it is very early here on the West Coast. It is Kevin Borjas. That is Jacob's Lock of the Week. Can't say I'm on that side. I'm on the opposite side, actually. Kevin looked good at 125.5. Meanwhile, Alessandro Costa, who's one of 2 defeats in the UFC, is the current flyweight title challenger, Steve Erceg. Costa came in at 125 pounds, and that is a wrap, my friends. Like the video, subscribe to the boys right here on YouTube. We want picks. I'll see you guys next week for UFC St. Louis, Derek Lewis versus Rodrigo Nascimento.